Every day, we go about our lives assuming that we perceive a shared reality. But can we really trust that we're all perceiving our environments in exactly the same way? Take a listen to this. For my part, I heard virus, but after a few repetitions, I started hearing Boris. You might have heard something different. The sound is an audio illusion. No words at all, just a bunch of random sounds. Our individual interpretations of the sounds is an example of what neuroscientists call the predictive mind in action. It's the mind's best guess at what's happening.
The main idea with those auditory illusions is that the sensory information coming into our brains is perceived by us based on what we know about the world.
That's Korian Rogalski, a neuroscientist at Arizona State University. And it makes me think that maybe I heard virus and then Boris because of what's been happening in the past 3 years with the pandemic and a former British Prime Minister.
I say to all the doubters, dude!
We try and form words out of sounds that may not even physically, energy-wise, have those sounds in them. We do that because we are making predictions that auditory stimuli coming into our ears should be grouped together in a way that's meaningful for us.
Rogalski studies how our brains perceive language and music. She says two things happen when we experience the world. First, we get a sensation, which is a change in physical energy, such as the sound waves coming into our ears.
And then we convert that into neural energy, our neurons in our brain firing. However, after sensation comes perception. But that perception is highly dependent on previous experience and rules that our brain has built about the way the world works, and our conscious and unconscious expectations about how the world is organized and how it works.
This is how our brains perceive our environments with all of our 5 senses. The predictive brain has launched mind-bending new research. Neuroscientists are exploring everything from how we perceive physical touch, to how we form our beliefs, to how we can help stroke victims to communicate fluently again.
To provide them with additional cues that typically aren't necessary, but very explicit cues to indicate that a phrase has ended, or it's their turn to speak, or there's going to be an important piece of information coming up. So just sort of provide a crutch to help them with that prediction, do the predicting for them.
We start relying on our predictive brains from the moment we're born. Our minds must decide what information, like which syllables and sounds, are likely the most important to pay attention to in order to learn.
So for example, if you're a baby and you're learning a language, you start out by keeping track of the sounds in your language. You build up over time, you track those statistics, and you eventually learn what the rules are for what syllables are.
Celeste Kidd is a professor of psychology at UC Berkeley.
And you just keep building up like that with bigger and bigger components until you are able to speak a language and communicate with others.
Her lab researches learning, language, and belief formation. Audio illusions, like the one you heard at the beginning of this story, illustrate how we can block out relevant information if our predictive minds decide that it's probably not important. Over the years, Kidd has realized how her own brain's filtering mechanism has landed her in the dangerous situation of not noticing pain.
I gave a talk once, and then after I was talking with somebody, and they're like, you have blood from your ear, my eardrum ruptured, which can happen apparently if you have an ear infection. And I didn't even notice. It was a really good conversation.
One of the most intriguing areas of research that almost anyone can relate to is flavor. It's well established that flavor results from a combination of our perceptions of smell and taste. But researchers who study smell think that it could be possible to manipulate our senses to get us to eat more vegetables.
There's this idea out there, can we make broccoli taste like chocolate or have the flavor of chocolate?
Jess Carnwell, a postdoc at the California Institute of Technology, has some high hopes for the emerging field of neurogastronomy.
If we were able to make foods that would normally be unattractive, bitter, but still that are healthy and important for us to eat, if we could alter their flavor so that they do become attractive and exciting to eat.
You like broccoli?
Yes.
You like it with a lot of cheese?
Sadly, this idea involves so many areas of scientific study that nobody has come up with a sensory hack yet. And it just goes to show, for now at least, that there are in fact limits to the truism mind over matter.
Finish your vegetables.
He doesn't like broccoli.
For Philosophy Talk, I'm Sarah Lai Sterland.